Time for the 49ers Rush Podcast.
The first quarterback comes in at number 80 on the 49ers roster countdown for 2024. That's Tanner Mordecai, undrafted free agent that's very well-traveled, old, experienced for being a rookie. He's 24 years old, but he's going to turn 25 in November. He's actually 1 month older than Brock Purdy, who's going into his third NFL season. And this is kind of the way it's going to be for a while with COVID, because you got the fifth-year red shirt, then you got the COVID exemption. So a lot of these guys, and this is Tanner Mordecai, he had 6 years college experience with 3 separate schools. Went to OU, then transferred to SMU, then transferred to Wisconsin. Very well-traveled, played a lot. So who is Tanner Mordecai? He's wearing jersey number 4 for the 49ers, and he's that fourth quarterback. Can the Niners strike lightning twice and get one of these? We saw what happened with Brock Purdy being the last pick of the NFL draft and becoming a star. Can Tanner follow suit? Different players, but 6'2", 218. He's bigger than Brock considerably. 31-inch arms, that's an issue. Ran a 4.46 40. He didn't look that fast on tape. He's a mobile quarterback, but he's a tough mobile quarterback. When I saw 4.4, I was like, whoa. I was thinking 4.6, 4.7, somewhere around there. But if you're just looking at like speed, true speed, he is by far the fastest quarterback. And that's saying a lot, because you got Joshua Dobbs. He ran a 4.6, 4.40 at the combine. Purdy, 4.84. And Brandon Allen, exact same time as Purdy, 4.8, 4.40. Now, you look at the 10-yard split, he ran a 1.63, and Purdy is famous for this. Purdy, 1.55. So, elite burst for Purdy, good burst for Tanner Mordecai, but the top-end speed for Tanner is there. Ran a 7-flat 3-cone, very, very good. 36.5-inch vertical, very good. 9.11 broad jump, very good. Lower body explosiveness is there for Tanner Mordecai. Now, when we were doing our rankings, shout out to Oscar, Dave, and Josh, the producers of this series, he came in with the cumulative score of 319. That's adding up all 4 1 through 91 ranks. His highest rank was 78. His lowest rank, not too far, 81. I mean, we all kind of had him in that same group, and we weren't allowed to look at each other's rankings. So it's kind of fun whenever you get everybody kind of in agreement. And regardless of who Tanner Mordecai is as a player, the depth chart sets the tone for the story's kind of written this year. Now, as we know, quarterbacks can go crazy, and you can have 2 to 3 quarterback injuries in 1 year and just have to see what happens. Week 13 versus Miami, right? 2022, I believe it was. Or was it 2023? But whatever. Things can happen. And, when you're the quarterback or the backup quarterback or the number 3, you always got a chance to get in there and get some playing time. So he's an undrafted free agent. He grew up in Waco, Texas, went to Midway, won a state title there. And, I reached out to some of my coaching buddies in Texas that are still coaching down there. I was like, man, what do you know of this kid? And, the roster wasn't respected at Waco Midway, but they won a state title. They had 3 studs that all went on to play Big 12 football. Tanner Mordecai was the quarterback, was awesome. KT Livingston went to K-State. He got drafted this year. And Khalil Houghton, who was a running back safety, went to OU as well. So they had 3 top-level tier guys, but beat a lot of teams that my coaching buddy said, man, had no business being in that game. They just kept winning. And that's kind of who Tanner Mordecai is. Tough, leadership, get the job done. And if you watch his career path, which, man, seemed like he would have been drafted, his last year didn't go too well. So let's go through his college transition, which he graduated with a management degree. That plays into being a quarterback, right? This is who this guy is. He goes to Oklahoma and is there for 2 years, battling back and forth with Spencer Rattler, another quarterback who was drafted this year. Eventually lost out that role. He did get some starts. They benched Rattler. Tanner got in. He lost the role. Rattler went in. He lost the role. Tanner went in. Rattler eventually won that competition. And funny enough, you get Mordecai transfers to SMU, right? And now the job at OU is Spencer Rattler's until a freshman comes in by the name of Caleb Williams. and takes away Rattler's starting job against Texas. Man, that breaks my heart. I hate that damn game. But anyway, it's funny how all these people or quarterbacks are kind of tied together. So he goes to SMU as a senior, and he's there for 2 years with elite production. 72 touchdowns over 2 seasons to 22 interceptions. He had 13 games with over 300 passing yards in 2 years. Like, elite level. He thought he was going to go pro. He thought he was going to get drafted. So they put their names into the NFL draft consultant thing, and scouts kind of tell them how they feel about him. He was 90% confirmed going into the draft, as he thought. Got really bad feedback from the scouts. And they're like, the level of competition, why couldn't you beat out Spencer Rattler? What happened there? How come you couldn't do this at OU? We need to see you do it against a big-time program. So he steps back and says, fine, I'll go to a big program. Transfers with Luke Fickell to Wisconsin. Remember Luke Fickell? He was at Cincinnati. Goes there and wanted to prove to everybody that he could do this type of production against the Big Ten. It didn't happen. Had a really bad year. Was a team captain at Wisconsin, and, the coaches rave about him at all 3 spots. OU, SMU, Wisconsin. Coaches love this dude. They really, really do. Lays it all on the line all the time. But in his 10 games at Wisconsin, he threw for 2,066 yards, averaged 200 yards a game. Whereas, again, you look at what he was doing. He was doing over 300 yards a game average at SMU. 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. The team went 7-6. And I know it's always more than the quarterback, but you were expecting for him to put up these, again, 72 touchdowns in 2 years, down to 9 touchdowns in 1 year. Like, it just fell off a cliff. And so the questions that the scouts had for him were not answered. That's why he went undrafted free agent. And the Niners I like the fit. I really, really do. And it's how can he get there? Now, you look at some of the accolades that he was able to accomplish. His grandfather was a pro tennis player, so the athleticism's in the family, and they understand what that means to be a professional athlete. He was a Davy O'Brien Award semifinalist with SMU. Earl Campbell, Tyler Rose Award semifinalist, CFAPA National Performer of the Year, watch list member, Maxwell. Like, he was on par at SMU. The question was, can he do what he needs to do against great competition? And that did not come across. That's the issue. Some people labeled him check down Charlie at Wisconsin because he checked down a lot. But, man, he throws a great deep ball. He really, really does. Like, whenever you look at just film analysis, and again, let's bracket this with Dane Brugler of The Athletic, had him as the 25th quarterback in this year's draft class. That's an undrafted free agent. Athleticism, experience, and ball placement, I think, are his 3 best traits. You want to throw in there leadership, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that at all. Layers the ball well. Biggest issues that I saw, footwork is terrible. A lot of backyard football. People want to talk about upper body quarterback mechanics. I'm out of that conversation almost 95% of the time. No issue. Quick release. But the issue is down below. His feet are never where they should be. He doesn't throw from a consistent base. Probably the number one thing that this kid's going to get from Shanahan, you got to work on the base and the footwork and all that stuff. If he could adapt that, you could see the jump in play, because it's not like accuracy is an issue for Tanner Mordecai. It's not. It's inconsistency is the problem, because he's a streaky player. When he's hot, he's red hot. When he's cold, he's ice cold, like in a bad way. And so you see these back-to-back drives watching the tape where it's like, ooh, this is terrible. And so this is why I always tell people, go watch the game tape. Don't watch highlights. You put the highlights on at Tanner Mordecai, even at Wisconsin, you're going to be like, ooh, this dude should have been a 3rd-round pick. Well, go watch the game tape. Then you see, like, man, he will ruin drives by himself back-to-back times. You just got to get there. Another issue I saw is he's got zip on the ball. The arm strength is there. It's kind of like a Trey Lance thing where you got like a shallow, crosser route, and he'll throw that 99 miles an hour when you don't have to. And so he'll fit it in windows, which I like, but he's got to learn to take make the ball catchable at times. You don't have to throw it 100 miles an hour all the time. I struggled finding a comp in the NFL, and I kept going back in the back of my mind. I don't like doing this because I don't like comparing undrafted free agents to great players. But, man, the whole time I watched them, tough as hell, mean as hell, little undersized but stocky, takes big hits, fearless. I mean, he has athleticism to run and score touchdowns. You want to do zone read with him? You can. Jeff Garcia light. Like, I couldn't get away from the comp. And even the journey that Jeff Garcia took to get to the NFL, bounced around all these places, Canadian Football League, all those things, that fits with Tanner Mordecai. 6 years in college football, 3 separate teams. That's kind of what he reminds me of. He got signed as an undrafted free agent by the 49ers, and they paid him $100,000 guaranteed. That's 4th most out of the undrafted free agent class. So he's right in that middle tier as far as what they paid to get. And I think it's a good fit for him. If I was his agent, I'd be like, look, dude, go spend time in the Shanahan system, learn from Shanahan himself, whatever you can, and then maybe we'll transfer you out next year, go join another practice squad. Maybe something happens. Who knows? But, this is the best thing for you. And I'm curious to see how it's going to pan out. I really, really am. Now, again, I talked about playing experience, playing 46 college games. Took a while to get on the field at OU, but at SMU and Wisconsin played nonstop. And so let's look at the depth chart. The Niners like to keep 3 quarterbacks. They're keeping 2 in Brock Purdy and Joshua Dobbs. The contracts specify that by itself. Those 2 are locks. So now you got Brandon Allen, who's the quarterback 3 last year, and you got Tanner Mordecai. Now, if Tanner can beat out Brandon Allen, similar to what Brock Purdy did to Nate Sudfeld, he can make the 53. And if he goes out there and puts on a show during the preseason, the Niners could be up against it with the Brandon Allen thing, very similar to Nate Sudfeld. That's not a bad place to be. But you got to remember, Brandon Allen was a multi-year backup, number 2 quarterback for Cincinnati and Joe Burrow. And so Kyle's going to keep 3. The whole quarterback, Kyle Shanahan rules what it is. Tanner Mordecai's got a very realistic shot. Half of his salary is already paid for what it's going to cost to keep him on the practice squad all year. It's guaranteed that 100. So they're already invested. I think that's probably where he's going to be. But let's look at the flip side. What if things don't go wrong? What if Tanner Mordecai doesn't impress? What if he doesn't catch on? Well, then you'll see that back end of the cycle back into the roster be cycled through. Bring in another quarterback, something along those lines. Would not be shocked at all. But I like him. Fun player, tough as hell, leadership, a lot of experience, and it's not like he's really green because he's about to be 25 years old. So can the coaching and Shanahan's system bring him to where he needs to be? Good news is you got time to develop this dude. Keep him on the practice squad this year. Then you let Brandon Allen go or Josh Dobbs go. Maybe he could be a quarterback 2. Maybe he could be a quarterback 3. That's not a bad thing. That's not a bad career. Tanner Mordecai, it's been fun diving into the quarterback stuff. I like it. He comes in number 80 on our list. And for us here at the 49ers Rush, we'll just keep counting them down.